All right, everyone, buckle up. We are diving into some seriously interesting TV opinions today.
Oh, this is gonna be
Yeah,
fun.
somebody sent us this list, right, from the top tens,
Okay.
and it's called, get this, top 10 shows that get way too much hate, and whoa, boy, it's like all over the place. We're talking childhood shows, animated stuff, you name it.
So we're going a deep dive to figure out why these shows get so much hate. I'm in.
You better believe it. And you know me, I got to start with the comments.
Always a good place to start.
Oh, for sure. Like, one person wrote about Dora the Explorer, right? It's amazing how 7th graders on TTT still care about toddler shows.
Oh, wow. Someone's holding on to some serious childhood grudges.
Right. It's like, come on, let it go. But it does make you think, like, sometimes some people are so passionate about hating these shows, it's almost like they're reliving some past trauma or something.
Aha. Yeah, maybe. But it does raise an interesting question about nostalgia.
Oh, yeah, like, are we judging these shows unfairly because they don't live up to our rose-tinted memories?
Exactly. Take a SpongeBob, for example.
Okay, yeah, SpongeBob. I mean, who hates SpongeBob? He's like a national treasure.
Right. But a lot of the comments are about how the quality dipped after the first few seasons.
Really? I can kind of see that. The early episodes were just like pure magic.
Yeah, and I think some people feel like the show lost its way, became too, I don't know, over the top, maybe.
I guess, but I mean, couldn't you also say that the humor just evolved? Like what some see as over the top, others might see as innovative or, just pushing the boundaries of cartoon comedy?
Oh, totally. It's all subjective, right? What's funny to one person might be annoying to another. It's like our tastes change as we grow up.
So true. Like, remember those old cartoons we used to watch? Sometimes you go back and watch them and you're like, what was I thinking?
Yeah, all the time. So maybe it's not that SpongeBob got worse, but rather our own sense of humor evolved and it no longer aligns with the show's style.
That's a good point. But there's got to be more to it than just nostalgia and evolving tastes, right? I mean, this list is full of shows that people seem to genuinely despise.
You're right, there's definitely more to unpack here.
Like what? What else is going on?
Well, fandom plays a huge role.
Fandom? How so?
Well, think about shows like My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic.
Oh yeah, that show blew up. I wasn't really into it, but man, people were obsessed.
It attracted a massive following, and with that came some intense opinions. Some people love it fiercely, while others just can't stand it.
And it gets kind of heated online, right? Like, the comments on this list about My Little Pony are wild.
For sure. You've got diehard fans defending it to the death, and others who are, like, personally offended by its existence.
It's crazy. Like, calm down, people. It's just a show.
Right, but it goes to show how fandom can kind of skew perceptions, both positive and negative. It's like sometimes it's hard to have a balanced conversation about a show when everyone's so invested.
Okay, so we've got nostalgia, fandom. What else is fueling this overhated phenomenon?
Well, we also can't ignore how cultural trends and sensibilities have changed over time.
Oh, good point. What might have been considered edgy or funny a decade ago could be seen as problematic or offensive today.
Exactly. Like even SpongeBob, some of those early jokes, they probably wouldn't fly now.
You're right. It's like society has evolved, and what we find acceptable or funny has shifted.
And that definitely plays a role in how we perceive older shows, especially if they haven't aged well in terms of representation or humor.
So it's almost like we're holding these shows to a different standard now.
I think so. It's a tricky situation, right? Like, how do we judge a show based on today's standards when it was created in a different era?
Right. It's a tough one, but it's definitely something to consider as we continue this deep dive.
Absolutely. It's all about context, and understanding the historical and cultural influences that shaped these shows.
Okay, so we talk about nostalgia, fandom, and shifting cultural trends. But let's get specific here.
Yeah, let's dive into some examples.
All right, let's start with the one that maybe surprised me the most on this list. SpongeBob SquarePants.
SpongeBob, but he's like universally loved. What's not to love?
I know, right? But the comments, they paint a different picture. Like, some people genuinely hate him.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Spill the tea.
Well, one of the main complaints is that the show's quality went downhill after the first few seasons.
I think we've all seen shows that kind of lose their spark after a while.
Right. And for SpongeBob, it seems like the humor got too wacky, the characters became more exaggerated, and the storylines just weren't as engaging.
So people are saying it lost that original magic.
Yeah, and that could be a major turnoff for fans, especially those who grew up with the early seasons.
It's like you have this idealized memory of the show, and then you see it change, and it's almost like a betrayal.
But is it really that the show got worse? Or is it, like we were saying before, that our tastes changed?
It's probably a bit of both, to be honest. But it's interesting to think about how our own perceptions shape our experience of a show.
Okay, so we've got the quality decline argument. What else are people saying about SpongeBob?
Well, another common criticism is that certain characters, like Patrick, became super annoying in the later seasons.
Oh, I've heard that. Like Patrick went from being this lovable goofball to a total idiot.
Right, and that can be jarring for viewers. It's like you feel like you don't even know this character anymore.
It's like that friend who was super cool in high school, but then like totally lost it after graduation.
Uh-huh, yeah. And that sense of disillusionment can be a big part of the hate.
Okay, so declining quality, annoying characters, anything else fueling the SpongeBob hate.
Well, some comments mention the oversaturation of the franchise.
Oh, that makes sense. There are like a million SpongeBob spin-offs, movies, merchandise. It's everywhere.
Right. And for some people, that just feels like too much. It's like the magic gets diluted when it's constantly being exploited.
It's like that band you love that suddenly starts releasing a new album every 6 months and eventually you just get burnt out.
Exactly. And it can feel like the focus shifts from creative quality to just making money.
Okay, wow. So we've barely scratched the surface of SpongeBob, and already we're seeing these complex layers of nostalgia, shifting tastes, fandom dynamics, and the whole issue of oversaturation.
And this is just one show. We have a whole list to get through.
I know, right? It could be fun. All right, so before we move on, let's hear from you, our listener. Have you ever noticed a shift in your own tastes over time? Like maybe a show you loved as a kid just doesn't hold up anymore, or a character you used to adore now makes you cringe. We'd love to hear your thoughts, share your experiences with us, and let's keep this conversation going.
Yeah, let's get this deep dive rolling. You know, it's funny, as we go through this list, like, it really hits you that overhated, it's totally, in the eye of the beholder.
Oh, absolutely. It's all subjective, right? Like I have friends who will go to the mat for some reality shows that just make me, like, want to crawl under a rock,
Totally. Taste is such a personal thing.
right? Like, what you find entertaining could be someone else's worst nightmare. Speaking of which, up next we have Invader Zim.
Oh, and Invader Zim, yeah. That show is, something else.
It's definitely unique, kind of dark, kind of weird, not exactly for everyone.
But it has a huge cult following.
Right. People love its offbeat humor, the kind of creepy animation style. It's got its own thing going on,
Definitely. And I think that's part of the appeal, right? It's not trying to please everyone. It's just being authentically itself.
which can be kind of polarizing, right? Like some people get it and they love it, and others are just like, what is this?
Yeah, you either love it or you hate it. No in between.
It's like you have to be willing to go along for the ride, even if it gets a little weird and dark and uncomfortable.
It's definitely an acquired taste.
For sure. But I think that's true for a lot of these overhated shows, right? Like they often have this niche appeal that either grabs you or totally repels you.
Totally. And I think that's what creates such strong fandoms around these shows. Like, it's this shared understanding of something that most people just don't get.
It's like they're in on a secret or something, like they've unlocked this hidden level of entertainment that the rest of us are missing out on.
Haha, exactly. And that sense of belonging can be really powerful, especially in the world of online fandom.
Okay, so we've got acquired taste, niche appeal. What else is going on with these overhated shows?
Well, sometimes it's just straight up controversy, like the show is intentionally pushing buttons.
Ooh, that's always a good time. Give me an example.
Well, Family Guy is a classic case, right?
Oh yeah, Family Guy. That show has been offending people since day one.
It's known for its edgy humor, its willingness to tackle, like, any topic, no matter how taboo, and it doesn't pull any punches.
And people either love that or they absolutely hate it,
Right. It's a show that thrives on provoking reactions.
which can be risky, right? Because while some viewers appreciate the boldness and the satire, others find it just plain offensive.
It's a fine line to walk, for sure, and it's one that Family Guy often crosses depending on who you ask.
And that's where the whole subjectivity thing comes back into play, right? Like what's funny to one person can be deeply offensive to another, especially these days with social media and cancel culture and all that.
It's a minefield. Creators have to be super careful.
Okay, so we've got acquired taste, niche appeal, controversy. But what about the shows that are just like so bad they're good?
Oh yeah, those are the best. The ones that make you wonder, how did this even get made?
Like Teletubbies.
Haha, yes, Teletubbies, the ultimate so bad it's good show.
I remember those creepy little creatures from my childhood. They were kind of mesmerizing, weren't they?
Mesmerizing, creepy, adorable. They definitely evoke a range of reactions, and not all of them are positive, that's for sure.
The comments on this list about Teletubbies are hilarious. One person called them demons, and another said they were made by crackheads and acid trips.
Oh, wow. People have some strong feelings about those colorful little guys.
It's like they're this bizarre fever dream come to life, and you either surrender to the weirdness or you run for the hills.
And that's what makes them so fascinating. They challenge our expectations of what children's entertainment should be.
They're like, we're going to do our own thing, whether you like it or not. And you know what? I kind of respect that.
Me too. Sometimes the most overhated things are the ones that force us to expand our definition of what's acceptable or entertaining.
So, as we wrap up this exploration of overhated shows, what's the biggest takeaway for you?
I think it's the realization that there's no such thing as universal appeal. What one person loves, another person might despise. And it's totally fine. It's what makes the world of entertainment so diverse and interesting.
Right. It's all about finding your tribe, the people who share your taste and get your sense of humor.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that it's okay to have different opinions. In fact, it's what makes conversations about art and entertainment so much fun.
All right, dear listener, we've talked about a lot today. Nostalgia, shifting cultural trends, acquired tastes, the allure of the niche, and the role of controversy. But now we want to hear from you. What are some shows that you found yourself defending against the tide of popular opinion?
Or what are some shows that you just can't understand why anyone would like? Share your thoughts with us, and let's keep this conversation about the shows that get way too much hate going.
So, we've been talking about all these overhated shows, and I've been wondering, like, is there any actual value, like, I don't know, is there a point in really thinking about why we, like, love to hate certain things?
Whoa, that's a deep question.
Right.
I mean, it's like, what's the point of all this negativity, right? But you know what? I think there is something to be gained from really examining those reactions, even the negative ones.
So, like, what can we learn from all this hate watching?
Well, I think it can tell us a lot about ourselves, like our values, our biases, even our
Like,
insecurities.
insecurities. How so?
Well, think about it. If you absolutely despise a show that everyone else seems to love, it might be worth asking yourself why? What is it about this show that's pushing my buttons? What's triggering this reaction in me?
That's a good point. So, like, if I don't know, if I'm totally repulsed by, let's say, a certain reality show that's, super popular,
Yeah.
what could that be saying about me?
Well, maybe it's because the show's values just clash with your own, you know? Like maybe you value authenticity and real connection, but the show feels fake and shallow to you.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like, it's not just about disliking the show itself, but, like, what it represents, right?
Exactly. Or maybe you see it as, promoting harmful stereotypes and your dislike is coming from a place of social awareness.
Oh, yeah, that could definitely be a factor, too. So it's like these overhated shows, they're almost like these cultural Rorschach tests, They reveal as much about us as they do about the shows themselves.
Oh, I love that. That's such a great way to put it. It's like by looking at what we hate, we're actually seeing a reflection of our own beliefs and experiences.
Whoa, that's deep, man. Okay, let's be real for a second. Like, sometimes a show is just plain bad, right? The writing is terrible, the acting is cringeworthy, the plot makes no sense. Are you saying there's value in analyzing even those shows?
Absolutely. Even the train wrecks can teach us something.
Really? Like what?
Well, for one thing, it can help us appreciate the good shows even more, Like by seeing what doesn't work, we can better understand what makes a show truly great.
So it's like you can't appreciate the light without knowing the darkness kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And by analyzing those bad shows, we can also learn about the creative process, What are the pitfalls? What are the challenges of telling a compelling story and connecting with an audience?
So it's like they're cautionary tales, almost.
Totally. And even though they might be painful to watch, they can actually be really instructive both for creators and for viewers.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of overhated shows, what's the big takeaway? What do you want our listener to walk away with today?
I think the most important thing is to remember that our reactions to media, they're complex, right? They're influenced by so many things, our personal history, our cultural background, the things we've been through.
So much more than just like I like this or I hate this.
Exactly. And even when we have these strong negative reactions, there's always something to be learned, Like by exploring those feelings, we might actually discover something new about ourselves or the world around us.
Okay, so dear listener, next time you find yourself, passionately hating on a show, maybe take a moment to pause, right? Ask yourself, what is it about this show that's really bothering me? Is it the writing, the characters, the values? What can I learn from this reaction? And is there maybe something I'm missing? Like, why are other people enjoying this?
You might be surprised by what you discover.
And that's a wrap on another deep dive, folks. Thanks for joining us on this wild ride through the land of overhated TV shows. Remember, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but it's always fascinating to explore the why behind those opinions.
Absolutely. So keep those conversations going and don't be afraid to drive deep into your own reactions to media.
Until next time, stay curious and keep watching.